All right, so the question goes with these two quick video clips, and I am going to bring them up. If I get kicked out of Google Classroom, I will be back. I don't know why it loves to kick me out. So this is a picture of a pot that I have burnished. Not a picture, I lied. A short video clip. So it makes it super shiny, if that's what you're looking for. And then here's like a really quick time lapse of burnishing, but I'm gonna go over it right now with the same bowl. So the time lapse is up in the classroom too, if you wanna watch me burnish a small part of the pottery in 20 seconds. So the question was, in these two short clips where I burnished pottery, we discussed earlier that a small stone or gem can be used to burnish clay. We're gonna go over how to burnish right now. Why do you guys think burnishing creates a shiny finish? And do you think it strengthens or do you think it weakens the clay? So let's see. Alrighty, student answers. So it makes it smooth and you get the smooth texture of the gem, and the clay gets shiny. It pushes the clay together, especially since it's a bit drier. The clay pressing into the areas where the water was. That's awesome. That's good, good, good. That's what we're gonna talk about. Emily, shiny finish. As it burns away all the cracks, makes it smoother. It absolutely makes it stronger because we're pushing together the clay. So you guys have all like really good answers, little bits and pieces here. So this is amazing. Some other materials, Michaela said aluminum, copper, brass, iron. And that it also strengthens the clay. A lot of you, pretty much all of you said that it strengthens the clay, and this one answer was good, that it either smooths out the top layer or removes the top layer. What it does is, it kind of does both. It is compressing the clay together so that the top layer actually blends together with the layers below it. So I'm gonna go ahead now and I'm going to do some demonstration. And the first thing that I'm gonna demo for you guys is a magical thing that you can do to fix broken pottery. I'll see you later and I'll upload this. A magical thing. And does it always work? 100% of the time, no, but can it work? Vinegar. I usually keep a few gallons of this in my classroom because it can be used to refresh clay. I would not recommend using it to refresh porcelain with, like, you know, putting vinegar on any type of towel or anything like that. But what the vinegar does is it causes an acidic reaction that brings natural materials back to life for a short period of time. It breaks them down a little bit and it allows you to smooth things that you want to smooth. This is my porcelain vase that we're gonna go in and take a little bit of a look at, but I smoothed it earlier with just slip. And do you notice how it's really white where the slip was and really chalky? Trying to smooth with slip over a surface that's already kind of dry is not really gonna work for you all that well. It's just gonna kind of create like a top layer that's super chalky and it's not gonna really blend anything. So what we're gonna wanna do is take a little bit of vinegar And I did this in my block before too. I made some little cracks in my pot. Let's choose over here. So I'm just making cracks like that. And then I'll show you guys how we're gonna use vinegar to fix it. Now this is if you have any little cracks in your vase. I wouldn't, go ahead and paint your whole vase with this, but if you have any little cracks like that, this is gonna work really well. So I am just painting directly over. And you're gonna notice that the clay is already becoming like fresh. Now it's only gonna stay this way for, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds. So you're gonna then wanna go in and you can really work the clay together, really smoothing it, smoothing the slip directly from the pot itself into that crack. And you might have to keep putting a little bit more on, but eventually, as you keep filling it in, you could even take a little bit of slip. You'll be able to work that out. So, essentially it will start to disappear. I'd probably go in and really work this a little bit more, but you could see just how much better it got just by adding the vinegar in. We could probably even go in and burnish this out, what I'm gonna show you next. But I'm gonna go in and show you guys, in case your project breaks, just one clean break, you can try to reattach it. You're gonna need slip. I only have porcelain slip right here. I just grabbed this to kind of actually break right now. But what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna paint, and this is kind of good, I guess, that it's porcelain so you could see the slip. Paint both sides to revive them. Give them like, I don't know, 2 coats or so of vinegar. And then where it attaches, really soften that up with some vinegar. The acidity almost like melts the clay slightly, and it does eat away at it a little bit. So sometimes you do need to go back and blend a little slip. Now that I have both sides with vinegar on them, you're gonna wanna make a few little score marks. Add a little bit more of this. And then you're gonna wanna add some vinegar and some slip to the other side. All right. Then go ahead in and try to line it up the best you can. Be very careful with it because, it was broken. I'm gonna actually move it this way so I can see what I'm doing a little bit better. Then I'll show you guys. But line it up. And it reattached. Now you guys can see where it reattached because I have the porcelain slip, but if this had been red slip, you wouldn't see it as much. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go in and really work up all of the clay around it with the vinegar and smooth over it. If you find that you need to bulk it up a little bit to fit into the cracks, you could go ahead and mix some slip up and add a bunch of vinegar to that. So if something like this happens and you have a clean break, don't give up. We could still go in and try and fix it. If something happens when you're working at home and you're like, oh my goodness, what do I do? Message me. Don't feel like you need to, throw anything out just yet. Now, I don't have this slip. If I had this slip, I would go in and smooth over some of these cracks, but you could see that I now have a piece all connected. So there is hope with vinegar that we can repair your project. And I could help you through all the steps too if you need. I'm available in the morning for office hours, 9 to 9:30 I think they are for all teachers, but if you want to set up a specific time, we can. I have first block off, and I'm usually in school, let's say about 8 o'clock in the morning. Going over burnishing. There are 2 different reasons that you might burnish something. The first one is to make it nice and shiny like this. Later on in class, we're going to be creating teapots, and we're going to be finishing them off in the dark brown clay with a beautiful burnished finish. We're going to get them as high shine as we can. And the specific teapots we're going to be going over are Ishing teapots, and it'll all make sense why we're going to burnish them so shiny. The second reason to burnish is to easily smooth out any bits of the clay that are a little bit cracked or a little bit bumpy, to get a really nice smooth surface to paint our designs on, and to harden it up a little bit so that when we do paint our designs on, we don't have such a fragile piece. It will be pretty fragile, but it's not going to be as fragile as it normally would be. In order to burnish, you're going to want a few different things. The first one being your little burnishing stone. This is in the little kits that you guys should be picking up. If you didn't grab it already, make sure you grab it. Anything will work, like a smooth, like a river rock or anything like that. I just like to buy these because they work really well. They come in a big bag, they're pretty cheap, and I think that they're a pretty good thing to burnish with. So you guys each have one of these. And then you're also going to want, this is a very kind of like big tablecloth I had in the classroom, but you're gonna want something soft to work on. Because if you're burnishing and you're working on a table, the table's a hard surface and it's gonna start kind of like moving, and your pot's gonna really hit it against the table. So in burnishing your pottery, you wanna make sure you have a really good hold on it. I'm gonna show you first on this bowl, then I'm gonna show you on the vase, so you know how you're gonna hold it appropriately and how it's gonna, least possible breakage on you. To burnish, you're gonna use the, the oval side, not the flat side. And you're just gonna start going in very slowly and making circular patterns on your pottery. Then you could go in and you can go side to side and just kind of work on little areas at a time. I'm making sure that I'm holding this so it's pretty sturdy, but you don't want to break it and you don't want to rest any delicate parts down on the fabric. It's just to kind of help you hold the pot up. So I would recommend having some type of t-shirt or towel to work off of. And what this is doing is it's compressing all the clay together. So I believe it was Myra said that one of the sides was, I forget your answer now. What was your answer? Yes, it's pressing the clay together since it's a bit drier. So the clay is pressing into the areas where water is. Correct. On here, you really can't feel that it's that cool to the touch. But we're taking this clay and we're compressing it together. You're gonna feel that it's gonna feel cooler to the touch because it is mixed in with the layer beneath the clay beneath the clay, so, you know. And you're also gonna find out that it's a lot smoother just because of the compression. So you could tell it's darker in color because that's where the water was. It's really like kind of essentially sinking the dry clay into a wetter clay. And then this is what it looks like naturally. Now when burnishing your porcelain vases, you want it to be at a very particular stage. You don't want it to be completely dry, but you don't want it leather hard. So for example, this is your really dry clay. It's really, really light white color. It's a little bit too dry to burnish. I like it to be a little bit kind of in between leather hard and bone dry, so keep that in mind. If you feel like you do need to re-wet your clay, like I said, just a little bit of damp paper towel, slightly rest it over your project, about 20 minutes, and then you should be good to go. Your clay is not ready also to burnish when it is like just leather hard. So you'll notice that if you go in and you try to start burnishing your clay and it starts to move around like that, you guys can see those marks in there. Those marks. It's not ready to burnish yet. You could just leave that and then we'll go back and we'll burnish it. So treating your vase with care. I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna burnish this slip area so you could see the difference. This side is where it's been burnished. It's a little bit darker and cooler, and it's a lot smoother too. This is gonna give us a nice surface to apply underglaze to. Same technique. But you wanna make sure that you're really holding your vase in like your whole palm. Don't rest it upside down like this. Don't rest the neck against anything like that. It's very fragile. Keep it, but allow your arm rested on a nice surface. It's also good to rest like the base on. And I'm just applying pressure, but I'm holding my vase so it's really steady. And I'm just working in circular motions. Now you guys are gonna wanna focus on some areas where it's maybe a little bumpy or there's some lines in it, and you could really apply quite a bit of pressure there and it'll work those out. It's almost like sanding, but instead of something coming off, it's compressing in. So because we're doing this to get more of a sturdiness to our piece, we don't need such a high gloss finish. I'm gonna be dipping these for you guys after you underglaze them in a clear high gloss glaze. And I'll show you what dipping glaze is when we go on our little field trip to the Clay College, virtual field trip. I'm gonna go over that with you guys. But I just really want you to be able to use this technique. Number one, to practice for the future. Number two, so that your vase has a little bit more strength to it. Be careful when working on the neck of it. Make sure you really kind of cradle it. And I'm not applying nearly as much pressure. If you feel uncomfortable burnishing like towards the top, then I would say it's okay. But I like to work out any of the little imperfections that I can before I'm gonna go ahead and paint on it. So next week we're gonna go in and we're gonna draw out all of our designs on here. Some of you might be ready tomorrow, but we're gonna go over that on Monday, and we're gonna go over underglaze practices to get the best, most even results. And I'm just really kind of like working any of the unevenness in. You could already see the difference between this area and then this is where I started smoothing it, and then that's the other part. Started, and that's the other part. So this is the basics of burnishing. After you're done, you could let your pot slowly dry out. You might find that the smoothness goes away. Like, it'll be smooth, but it's not gonna be as smooth. The reason being is because there's water in here now. The water's gonna evaporate out, so you will have a finish that's a little bit rougher again with the porcelain clay. When we work with the other clay, it'll be different. That's okay, that's fine. But for now, we just want to strengthen these up and compress all of the little clay molecules together and get a really nice finish. I think you guys are going to enjoy burnishing. Some people find it super, super relaxing. But take your time. Make sure you have a nice, cloth, towel, t-shirt. It's just clay, it'll wash out of anything, but if you wanna have a specific t-shirt that you're gonna use for art or something like that, you could use that. And just making sure that you're always supporting it with your hand. I like this because it has an edge, so if you need to get into any tiny parts, you could use that. And then just go through the whole thing. So I'm not gonna have you guys watch me burnish forever. So I'll take a look at what you guys got. I started to go through some of your sketches and give you guys feedback. So if you didn't upload your sketch, make sure you upload your sketch, because I wanna get you feedback before these are gonna be due. All right. Very last thing you can do. Sometimes people will notice on the very top of their vase, they'll get a little bit of cracking. You could just go in with the vinegar and a paintbrush. And just paint that along and then kind of compress it in. One other thing I wanted to mention to you guys, make sure, and you could either write it on there with the underglaze, you could paint it on there, or you could carve it in. Make sure you get your name or initials on the bottom. That's gonna be very helpful, all right? So this is pretty much the basics of burnishing. This one's super, super shiny. This is gonna be kind of how our teapots are. And then this one we're compressing to get a really strong vase to then go ahead and underglaze on. So happy burnishing.